Well, hello once again, everyone. It's your boy Jingles Roscoe with another video. So, I was on social media the other day, and there was this discussion going on talking about some comic book artists that had quite clearly traced over other art and then presented it as original art. And people were showing the side by sides of like, this was the original, this was the new art. And the discussion was pretty unanimous that that was kind of a scummy thing to do. And while I agree that that's pretty much not okay, they didn't really discuss the fact that there is, in fact, a time and place for tracing, and how tracing can actually be a really valuable tool when you're learning how to draw. And that's kind of what I want to go over in this video. So, an example in my case is that I have never been very confident in being able to draw really dramatic or interesting poses. My poses tend to be pretty safe and not from any dramatic angles of any kind. Anytime that I've tried to do anything like that, it gets all like, it gets all weird shaped and just like, it looks bad. It looks real bad. So, like, I figure now is a good time to try and figure out some dynamic poses that I could use on my own. And that's kind of where tracing comes in, as it's a learning tool, you know. One of the big things that you don't ever want to do is trace something and then try to pass it off as, oh, I came up with this, I did this, you know. And that can even come with like referencing stuff, you know, just kind of using a picture and then referencing it from it, but just almost copying it exactly. And you don't want to do that because it looks scummy, and it definitely diminishes your image as an artist. But if you just use it for practice and use it for learning anatomy and stuff like that, it's totally fine. In here, I'm going to show you how. Over here, I have collected from Google quite a few poses that I just looked up, dramatic poses and stuff like that on Google, specifically like parkour images, and there's a reason for that. But we're gonna go ahead and come in here, and I got a pretty big canvas set up here, but that's just because that's how I like to work, is with a relatively large canvas. And you can see all these different leaps. This one over here is my favorite. Look at him. He's like, oh. Anyway. So, the way that we use this is that we're going to trace them. But we're going to trace them with the intent of learning from them, and not to, like, use the tracings as, like, you know, not trying to pass them off as, like, oh, I figured it out and I drew it myself. Because we don't want to do that. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm actually going to lower this opacity. We'll say 45% sounds pretty good. And we're going to come over here. We'll start over here on the top left. And we're just going to, you see, the way that this feller's legs are posed over here, what you want to do is just kind of box out the areas that the body is posed in, you know. This helps you kind of section off the body in a way that allows you to kind of figure out, oh, okay, so the proportions of the human body, they kind of go like this, right? And when a body is bent in this particular direction, their body, or the different parts of their body, kind of look like this. And then I'm going to turn this a little bit so that I get a better angle on it. But this is like something that if you don't really like look at this all the time, it's not something that you'll probably notice and probably something that you might not be able to figure out on your own, like, right away. And that's what this kind of exercise is for. Don't let people make you feel bad about tracing something or using something as reference, because all artists need to do that in order to learn. And initially starting off, especially when you're just starting off, that's how you learn, right? And in your mind, you're like, oh, okay, so the body bends itself like this when it does something like this. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off that layer. And when you have the body sectioned off like this, it helps you kind of figure out this is how human proportions look. And in this case, like, this area over here is bigger because it's closer to us. Is a foreshortening thing. And it's kind of something that you might be able to learn if you're just kind of observing as you go. And then the head over here looks real tiny, little tiny head. And that's because it's all far away. And that's kind of how foreshortening works, right? But it might not be something that you would notice right away without doing an exercise like this. We're going to go ahead and trace a couple more of these guys. I like this guy over here. He looks pretty cool. And the idea here when tracing something like this is to try and figure out, like, if you're having difficulties understanding how, like, a certain pose works or something like that, or like anatomy or musculature or something like that, this really, like, is a great way to be all like, oh, so the arm stretches like this, and so the shoulder muscle kind of sits on there like this, and then the arm is stretched out and it looks like this. And this helps you figure out, like, and the idea is to box it in. You don't want to be tracing it one-to-one. You don't want to make it like a perfect copy or anything. This is to help you figure out, like, the shapes of things, and not like not making perfect copies of stuff like this. But, like, these are all parkour images because there's a character that I've been wanting to draw for a while, and haven't been very confident or happy with the results that I've tried to do before. And so doing an exercise like this helps me be like, oh, okay, a body can be posed like this, and then his legs would go like this. And another idea that you could have when doing this, I decided to go, I very purposely took images of real people doing poses, and poses that they'd be conceivably able to do. I mean, if a human body tries to go into a pose that it's not capable of doing, something will break. And normally people try to avoid breaking their body. And so by getting images of real people, it helps you know what kind of the limits are for the human body if you're not already, like, familiar with it. But another reason, and the biggest reason why I didn't, like, take images from other artists is because when it comes to other artists and copying from other artists, what you're doing is that you're making an artistic interpretation of another person's artistic interpretation of real life. And it's very important to learn from real life itself and make artistic interpretations of life yourself. And the biggest reason for that is because then it'll be more authentic and more real as a result. And as opposed to, like, copying, like, we'll say, like, Akira Toriyama, who has a very, we'll say, liberal sense of how the human body is shaped and is proportioned. and stuff like that. If you don't know, Akira Toriyama made Dragon Ball, and the proportions of people in Dragon Ball are shaped in a very unique way. And like, if you want to like learn how to draw in a similar way to another artist, then you can do something like that. But I feel like it's incredibly important to get an idea of what real life actually looks like, and being able to make an interpretation of that real like life, and making your own interpretations of that first. Now, tracing from other artists can also be a valuable tool in and of itself. But if the idea is to improve on your own anatomy and your own artistic abilities, like, you want to be learning from real life. And that's just kind of an opinion of mine. You don't have to listen to what I have to say. I'm just some guy that just likes to draw silly pictures. And so, like, you know, these are just suggestions, really.
Think of them more as guidelines than actual rules.
And so, but I want to get better at doing poses and stuff like this. And as I explained before, I'm blocking out the areas, mainly like the musculature and like the idea of how these bodies are shaped, rather than I'm not using the clothing at this moment, which if you want to do the clothing, these are also really good to have a really good idea of how clothes sit naturally on a human body as well, and like the shapes that clothes will do when they're in motion. Like this guy over here, how his pants are just kind of like bunching up here and there. And if that's what you're looking for, I'd suggest actually sketching out the pants rather than the clothing, as well as the anatomy. But the idea that I'm trying to do right now is just trying to block in and figure out anatomically what the body is doing. And after doing this for a little bit, you'll get kind of an idea of what it is that the human body does in this case, leaping through the air, or like getting ready to punch, or posing and stretching in a dynamic way. And in my case, that's what I'm trying to figure out, because I want to draw a character that is known for leaping and jumping and being dramatic in their poses. So here's a couple of the references that I've sketched over. And from this, I can really get kind of an idea of like the way, I'm gonna get a different color here, of the way that the body kind of like torques here, right? And that the shoulders kind of square up right here, and that the arms will do like this, right? And by doing that, then you can take that stick figure and then draw something in a similar way. This is how you like build up like characters and stuff for poses and whatnot. But you kind of get the idea. I hope you get the idea. I mean, I'm not getting any feedback from you right here. You're being awful quiet, but you know, you do you. And so once we get like a good idea, and from tracing you learn, oh, okay, so this is how the body will do this at any given time, right? Or when it's leaping and jumping and like I like this guy's arms right here. They're like up like that. Like he's flying. Yay. But it's kind of the idea, right? And from that, now we're gonna go ahead and back it up and close that one out. I could do the rest, but I'm gonna do the rest later because this is kind of giving me the idea of what it is that I'm looking for. And from that, we'll go ahead, and this is what I usually do when I do these videos. For no particular reason, like I could just start with a blue pencil, but I like to start with a red pencil because red's my favorite color. And then I turn it blue, and then I turn the opacity down to about 35%-ish. Doesn't have to be perfect. And from there, I get like an idea of what it is that I want. And then I'll get nice and close here. I'll find a spot, and then I'll draw. I'll put in the rough of what it is that I'm trying to do here. I'll start with like a head. I always start with the head. So the way that this guy's arm over here is kind of flinging back like that, I'm going to be using that. And so I'll get like the neck in here, get kind of the shoulder muscle, and then get this in here, and then kind of get this back here, right? And then this will come forward, put in the clavicle. Oops, sorry about that. And then gonna have this chest area right here. And then actually this guy's legs over here I really like. And so I'll kind of have this here, drawing kind of like a middle line so you know that's where the middle is. Like this. And this is just a rough for right now, just to kind of set up what it is that I want. As you can see, I can kind of get this in here, get this nice leap in here, get that, get his legs like that, because that's what this leg back here is doing. And actually, because now that I can see that other leg, I'm going to go ahead and erase this here and elongate it. Elongate that leg. Make it nice and long, or longer than it was before. Put in the kneecap, and then kind of get a little bit of that in there with the foot. Get that in there. His other leg, kind of getting the muscles in there. Actually, I'm gonna go back on that one there. Kind of more leapy. And there you go. And then we're foreshortening this arm, so this hand is going to be real big, probably about the same size as his head. He's going to look something like this. And this is just the rough for right now. I'm going to clean this up a lot more. But this is kind of the idea that I'm going with. And if you couldn't already tell what it is that I'm trying to do here, is I'm getting a Spider-Man in here. And I've never been able to do Spider-Man very well. I've never been happy with the results. But with practice like this, I think I might be able to do something with this. But this is all still not proportioned correctly. Like this, I feel like Needs to be a little bit bigger. But I think you get the general gist of what it is that I'm trying to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do a few more of these guys over here, and then I'm gonna fix up this pose of this Spoderman, and then we'll speed up the footage and we'll see how it goes. All right, I'll kick you over to future jingles. See you in a bit. See, now isn't that guy nice? Past jingles, isn't he just a swell guy? Just the nicest fella. Anyway, hi everybody, future jingles here. First of all, would like to apologize to everyone because this is taking forever, or was taking forever. Oh, I'm gonna do a complete do-over here, and I had this recorded a while ago. But I don't really keep this do-over, and I'll kind of explain why as it gets closer to the end of it. But yeah, some things have been going on in my life, and it took me a little bit. Some of it was just like, you know, things happening in my life that I just couldn't get around to finishing this darn video. But some of it also was like, I don't have the energy right now, and I'm losing my mind and all this other stuff. But, you know, I don't really want to make excuses for not making videos, because once I start doing that, then I make less videos. And so I don't want to do that. I want to make more videos. I like making these videos. Anyway, so here's my first, or I guess second pass at trying to draw Spider-Man. He's a fun character. I love Spider-Man. Since I started recording this, the new Spider-Man for the PS4 game came out, and beat that and love it. I think it's terrific. One of my favorite pieces of Spider-Man media that I've had the joy of interacting with, which is great. But yeah, there's this Spider-Man, which I kind of liked. For the most part, it was okay, but anatomically there were things that I was really not happy with. And you know, if you come across something that it's just not working out, just start over again, you know. And so this was the next time I was able to get back to working on this video, and I was really putting a lot of effort into trying to make like the very best Spider-Man that I could possibly make, which I've always struggled every time I've ever tried drawing Spider-Man, and that just comes from like trying to get it anatomically pleasing, and you know, doing a good job with actually putting together the pose and stuff like that. Spider-Man is a fun character, but he is he's difficult to get right, in my opinion, and that's why, like many of the authors that do get him right, I have a lot of respect for. And this second pass of Spider-Man, though the pose itself I thought was fine, I thought that the previous pose that I did was a lot better. But anatomically, I feel like this Spider-Man that I'm finishing up here was a lot betterer. And so, yeah, I'm happier with this result. I'm still not 100% on it, but I'm pretty dang happy with it. And I think that's mainly because I was focusing on trying to make good anatomy as well as a good pose. And I think the next time, whenever I get around to trying to draw Spider-Man again, probably on my free time, probably not likely I'm going to do it for a speed drawing again for a little bit. I might do it, I don't know. Depends on like how many people like this video, and like if I'm feeling up to it. A lot of big things about these videos is if I'm feeling up to drawing the character. I don't want to be the kind of like artists that'll draw something just because it's relevant or popular at the time. Because to me it makes it look like I'm trying to fish for like views and stuff like that, and I don't want to. It's not my focus. My focus is, one, trying to improve my own art, which is what the focus of this particular video was really about, was trying to get better at drawing poses myself. But I also I want to entertain people. And for much younger artists, I want to kind of give them an idea of how to get started themselves and how to become better artists also. And when I say younger artists, I don't necessarily mean strictly younger people who are getting into art. I mean like people that don't have as many years of experience in art that, say, I do. Sorry, I looked over at the Spider-Man by John Romita Jr., probably one of my favorite Spider-Man artists ever. Him and his father are both terrific Spider-Man artists and have done a lot for Spider-Man over the years. Anyway, I happen to look over, and his Spider-Man kind of looks like it's judging my Spider-Man a little bit, which is kind of funny, but anyway. Yeah, my focus is I want to be an encouragement to people, and so that's my main focus in my videos and stuff like that. But I also want to get better because there's stuff that I want to do someday artistically that doesn't necessarily, it's not restricted to just making speed drawing videos. Though those are a lot of fun, and I feel like I really get to be as genuine as I possibly can, and have a lot of fun just kind of talking about how I do my art stuff. There's other stuff that I want to do too. I'd like to make comic books someday, and I'd like to make animations and other stuff. And I have a couple of animations on the channel already, which you may or may not have seen. But there's more that I want to do, and this is just I don't know if it's like a therapy thing, but it's a way for me to just kind of talk about my own experiences with art, and like I said, hopefully I encourage other people to draw as well. I've known a lot of people in my life that just will start trying, and then like they do pretty well, and I can like really see like the potential there as an artist, but then so many of them just don't continue trying, and they move on to other things, other hobbies. And I feel kind of sad because I like drawing so much that I want other people to kind of experience the fun that I have when I'm drawing. And that's why I want to be an encouragement to people. I never want to like look at somebody's stuff and say, no, you can't do it, because I don't believe that. I believe anybody that puts forth the effort and the time is very capable of being a very talented artist. Some people it comes to faster than others, but even for me, I've been drawing for well over 10 years, and I'm not anywhere near as good as other people that have been drawing for 10 years, but that's because I've been an on and off artist over the many years that I've been drawing, whereas other people like kept at it and kept trying and found more ways to improve and were able to get better faster. Also, here I'm adjusting Spider-Man's torso. I realized that I have a bad habit of making torsos just a little too short, and then I just have to get in there and readjust it. But as you can see, the Spider-Man has really come along really well. At least I think it turned out really well. But like I was saying, like I want people to get into art, and people that do get into art and just drawing, like I want them to continue to do it. because it's a lot of fun. And I want people to remember that I think drawing should be fun and should be a fun thing to do. And if you want to show your drawings to people, I want that to be fun as well. You know, I've been watching a lot of other fellow artists online, and I've gotten to the point now where they're an encouragement and not a discouragement. But that doesn't apply the same way to everyone. I've been making friends with S Comic Maker, and I'll give you a link to her channel in the description. And she's just a super nice person, and she also has this like feel of like just encouraging people to continue to do better and have fun with art. And I think that's the whole point of her channel, which I've been enjoying, and the interactions with her have been terrific. And so, but like I feel like more and more people need that kind of like encouraging voice to just hear every so often, especially if you're an artist, and especially if you're not very confident in your own skills quite yet. I think a big thing about improving is to know not just where you falter as an artist, but also kind of have an idea of what your strong suits are. And there's plenty of stuff that I still struggle with as an artist, but there are times when I'll just look at my art after I've gotten done with it and been like, yes, that looks amazing, and I'm incredibly proud of it. And it's even sometimes stuff that I don't even show anybody else. And it's just something that for me to enjoy, that, you know, something that I did. I have so many drawings, especially like when I was in high school, that I was just like really proud of. And I look back on and I'm like, those are definitely not as good as what I can do now. But like, I also being able to see your own improvement is a big encouragement as well. And sometimes not everybody can always see their own improvement. And when you can't see your own improvement, it can be a discouragement. But if you have other artists out there that look at it and tell you, wow, you're getting so much better and you're improving and stuff like that, I feel like that makes a huge difference. And that's why I always try to encourage other artists and stuff like that. Just because I want to see them continue to improve, and I want to see their journey of improvement, because then I'm more encouraged, and then I'm like, I want to get better at drawing what I've been drawing. And it's a cycle of encouragement and improvement, and it's really great when you have something like that. And there's a few artists that I talk to on a semi-regular basis, and we encourage each other, and we always I think we serve as an inspiration for each other. And so like if you're a younger artist, and if you're still trying to, I don't want to say find validation, but like if you want to hear other artists like compliment your stuff and also kind of show you how to improve, like I'm more than happy to be that kind of artist, and I like talking to people. So if you'd like, go ahead and just like leave a comment in the description, or in the comment section. Not in the description, that's where I write stuff. You stay out of my description, you. and just like, you know, just say something nice, and feel free to talk to each other, you know, because the bigger the community that we get, the more people will be encouraged, the more people will improve, and the more people will be having fun with art and drawing. Whew, that felt really nice to say. I wasn't expecting to talk about like this kind of stuff, but you know, one of the things about this speed drawing process is that, like I said, I like to be genuine and I like to just, you know, say what I want to say about stuff. And yeah. So Spider-Man, as I'm getting close to the end of this video, I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man's my favorite superhero, but not my favorite comic book character. My favorite comic book character is Venom, which I mentioned when I drew Venom, which I will leave a link to if you want to check out that speed drawing. But Spider-Man, I love Spider-Man so much because he's a jokester, he's a nerd, and he strives to do good, even when it's hard to do so. And I won't spoil anything about the Spider-Man video game for the PS4, but I'm glad that the makers, Insomniac, who made the game, I'm glad that they really showed off once again that sometimes Spider-Man needs to make a hard decision, but he'll choose, you know, he knows he has a responsibility for everyone and not just for himself, and he'll always put others before himself. And I think that's one of the big things that I like about Spider-Man, but also because he's funny and he's just great. I love Spider-Man. And even some Marvel authors haven't really nailed down that fact about Spider-Man. But like, you know, when people get it right, it feels really good. But yeah, here we are. We're coming up to the end of the video. And I'm just coloring in some of the lines because I haven't done that for a while, even for some of my other speed drawings. But I had time and I really wanted to, you know, put as much effort as I could into this picture. And so there it is. There's the Spider-Man I finished. I adjusted his colors a little bit in post. But that's kind of how I just wanted to show people, especially younger artists, that tracing can be a good learning tool. And learning from other artists is one of the best ways to improve. And always it's good to find other artists online that you kind of compare yourself to and kind of get validation from them, because it's a huge encouragement. And so, yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I may be a little bit until I get a new speed drawing out, but that's because I have kind of a big project that I'm going to be working on. I'm going to be putting a lot of focus into. But I'll let you know, depending on however long it happens to take. Also, if you didn't know and you would like to see more of my just random art that I do, on my Twitter account, I will occasionally, and more often than I do on here, I'll just throw out a little sketch or an ink drawing that I've done, that you're more than welcome to have a look at and say silly things to if you want. But that's available for whoever would like to. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to have another one as soon as I can. Have a good one.